Questions to ask throughout a campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming on even deep diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch along, still the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South, they flying. Keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Eagle-Eyed Football. Today's episode of the Premier League Review Show starts with a somber note. The news that a young Crystal Palace fan, Charlie ELLACOTT, passed away. The club, the fans, have gathered in such a way that truly honours this young man's life, and we would like to do the same here on the channel. We dedicate this episode of the Premier League Review Show, to you, Charlie. We will miss you deeply. Thank you. So, a little bit tough, what with that news happening. So I will do my very, very best to get through this. You will notice that I am in a brand new environment. So, hooray for that. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Premier League Review Show. Little bit of a change. It's a solo show for me, unfortunately. A bit of broadband issues yesterday as Virgin Media decided to go, nah, you're not going to be able to record for me. So obviously I'm doing this on a Wednesday. So thankfully, I've got the day off. So we're going to get straight into it. There's a little bit of a change, you might notice here, because I'm going to do some headlines this time. You will notice that the scores are down there now. So, no Haaland, no problem. Manchester City 4, Liverpool 1. Liverpool starting off this game just the way that they needed to, with a goal from Mohamed Salah. And then 10 minutes later, Manchester City turn on the style. And then in the second half, they just run roughshod over their opposition. And it has absolutely caused an end to Liverpool's run to try and get into fourth, I think. This is my humble opinion. Liverpool aren't going to get fourth. That's it. It's done. It's done. This level of defeat at this time in such a way, I think, is going to knock the morale off. Liverpool have had embarrassing results this season. They've had good runs, but they just can't get that consistency going. And they're going to be facing a season with no European football. Now, whether or not they might be able to finish 5th, 6th, that depends on what happens with the FA Cup, what happens with the Champions League, the Europa League, the Conference League. It all depends on who wins that, because obviously there's English clubs still in all 3 European competitions. So obviously that could have an effect on what positions are given to what teams at the end of the season. No Haaland. Doesn't seem like it's that massive issue for Manchester City as Pep Guardiola looks to continue the pressure on Arsenal. We'll get to them just after this one. But yeah, Julian Alvarez, Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan and Jack Grealish all getting goals on the sheet. And it has to be said that Manchester City are probably the best team in terms of their tactics. Pep Guardiola is the best tactical manager in the Premier League. But it's all going to come down to one match at the end of this month in April when Arsenal go to Manchester City. That is the title decider. But for now, Manchester City remain 8 points behind Arsenal. We will go to London now as the Gunners fire again. Arsenal 4, Leeds United 1 in what has to be said, a match that Leeds could not be expecting to win this one. You can go into it with spirits high, but this is Arsenal. This is an Arsenal who are 10 games away from a title. almost 20 years since they last lifted a trophy of this standard. They haven't lifted the Premier League in nearly 20 years, and that drought seems to be coming to an end. But like I said, it's all going to depend on that end of April match. But goals brace for Gabriel Jesus from the penalty spot, first in the 35th minute and then in the 55th. Ben White continuing his great form as of late with a goal in the 47th minute, and Granit Xhaka, who has certainly turned his performances around this season with an 84th minute goal. But not to say that Christensen did get a late consolation goal for Leeds. He gets his name on the goal sheet with a 76th minute goal there. Now we're going to go down to the south coast. We're going to start off with AFC Bournemouth. Is it a late blossom for the Cherries? So, Bournemouth rising out of the relegation zone for the first time in a long time as they beat European contenders Fulham 2-1. Now, obviously, the news, we'll start with Fulham, the news that Alexander Mitrovic will serve an 8-match ban, which will see him miss vital games, but he will be back for games, I believe that's games 37 and 38 for Fulham. One of those includes Crystal Palace. So he could be back in time to perhaps steady the ship if Fulham can get back on the proverbial horse and continue this great run that they've had under Marco Silva this season. Not to take it away from Bournemouth, great 3 points for them. Marcus Tavernier and Dominic Solanke scoring the goals there. Obviously, Fulham went ahead in the 16th minute, and it would take the home side until the second half to get the 2 goals needed for their 3 points. But is this a late blossom? Remains to be seen as the relegation fight looks to be going on. It could go down to the final day. This could be a very tight contest. We're going to stay on the south coast as we go to what I'm going to be calling game of the weekend. This thriller on the south coast. Brighton and Hove Albion 3, Brentford 3. What a game this was. So let's take you through the timeline. Janssen scores in the 10th minute. Brentford 1-0 up. Matoma scores in the 21st minute and equalises. Not even 60 seconds, or at least not even 2 minutes went by before Ivan Toney put his side back into the lead. And then Danny Welbeck said, "No, mate, I'm scoring now." And he makes it 2-2. A thrilling 10 minutes of football at the Amex Stadium. And it has to be said, both teams absolutely in great form. So congratulations to them. But it would be Pinnock who would put his side back into the lead and making it Brentford 3, Brighton 2. And disaster would strike for the Bees as McAllister would put away an 89th minute penalty to secure a vital point as Brighton look to continue this run into European football. De Zerbi certainly deserves all the plaudits. He's gotten this team into a fantastic position. It has to be said, even if I am a Crystal Palace fan, it has to be said that they deserve all the praise. Brentford, however, just don't seem like they can consistently get 3 points. They're scoring goals. That's the most important thing. But they're not seeing games out. Obviously, a 90th minute penalty is going to knock you out, but still, you can't be making these kind of mistakes with a foul that late in the game to give away a penalty. But we will move on. We are going to go back into London and a game that I am very, very happy to talk about. You can also watch the match reaction from the guys here on the channel. Go and watch them. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of Roy's rise and Brendan's fall as Crystal Palace finally have a win in 2023. Here's an interesting stat for you. Crystal Palace are now the last team in all 4 of the Football League system to have gotten a win in 2023. What are you expecting? It's the Crystal Palace way, is it not? Is it not this way? This is the way for Palace. So, timeline. Ricardo Pereira with a cracking strike that beat Guaita for the first goal right in front of the White Horse stand, and he went to go celebrate with his deserving fans. But then, 3 minutes, 180 seconds later, Crystal Palace have a free kick on the edge of the Leicester box in front of the Holmesdale stand. Ebere Eze and Michael Olise standing over the ball. It would be Ebere Eze who would strike the ball very, very nicely, but it would ricochet off of the back of Iverson and it would roll into the net, classified as an own goal. I'd be more happy to give it to Eze, to be honest. I think it was more a deflection, but it does go down as an own goal. Palace continuously trying their best to beat Iverson. Leicester as well trying their best to beat Guaita, but it would be in the last kick of the game. Jean-Philippe Mateta scores the final kick of the game, and it is limbs o'clock in the whole ground. The whole ground just goes limbs o'clock. Rich lost his voice. He sent us a video in the group chat of you could actually see him celebrating it, and he is doing a full-on war cry. Good on him. Good on the team. Finally a win. No position change for Palace. We remain 12th in the Premier League, but it is a vital 3 points as we go ahead to Leeds this weekend for Sunday. What would this mean? This could mean that Palace pretty much taking themselves out of the running for relegation. Not yet. Mathematically, still a chance. There's still a long way to go. We've still got 10 games. 10 games for some, 9 games for Palace. It's not over yet. There's 27 points up for grabs. Let's do our best to try and grab all 27. But the late news that Wilfried Zaha is out, reports saying for 3 weeks after a muscle strain, could very well see him miss out on crucial games. So squad depth needed now more than ever. Who do you think is going to be replacing Wilfried Zaha in his position? Do we think we might see Jordan Ayew pairing up with Michael Olise? Perhaps Odsonne Edouard playing more on the left-hand side with Mateta in the centre? Maybe, as Nate would always want to see, maybe some of the youth team making it into this later run. Let us know in the comments, guys. We're going to go off to Nottingham Forest now. In a game where there was a lot of flashpoints in this game. So Nottingham Forest won, Wolverhampton Wanderers won. Johnson and Podence scoring. A couple of red cards shown, not for players but for touchline staff. I believe one of the coaches for Nottingham and one of the staff on the Wolverhampton side got sent off down the tunnel after clashing, following a referee decision. But points shared, Forest pretty much guaranteeing themselves that they will be safe, but a lot of reports going into this game and a lot of the tabloids reporting that Steve Cooper's job is under pressure. Today, though, at time of recording, the Nottingham Forest chairman, I believe, came out and said this is not the time for changes. He will stay in his job. So Cooper stays until the end of the season. Does he stay into the next season? We'll have to wait and see. Wolverhampton, though, they're gonna need some results very, very soon, as they look like they could be dipping into that relegation fight. But yeah, one quick thing about this one was that at the end of the game, it did seem like there were a lot of handbags flying, and the FA have actually said that they are looking into a report that Podence spat at Johnson. And we don't need this, guys. We don't need that in the game. But when tensions are high, emotions running high, tempers will go. On to probably the most, I want to say the most shocking result of the weekend. But when you see it, when you think about it, this isn't shocking whatsoever. We're going off to Hogwarts. I mean, Stamford Bridge. Sorry, slip of the tongue there. Freudian slip. Graham Potter and the Chelsea curse. Now, a lot of people will highlight Chelsea or maybe even Crystal Palace for their revolving door. But again, Chelsea have gotten rid of another manager. Where does it stop? So, with the timeline here, Sunday, I believe this was the Sunday. Brendan Rodgers obviously was sacked. He was relieved of his duties by mutual consent. He was sacked. Then Graham Potter, 4 hours. There was 4 hours between the two dismissals. Chelsea then announced that they had gone separate ways with Graham Potter. And I'm not going to lie, it was a poison chalice anyway. The Chelsea job is a poison chalice because you're expected to succeed straight away. This is a Chelsea team that is undergoing such a strange transition period. You're just buying players from left, right. We'll take this player. We'll take that player. We'll spend that amount of money. We'll spend this amount of money, but with nothing to back it up. Yet. That's the most important word there. That 3-letter word. Nothing's been backed up yet. There was still at least give him until the summer. I think the dismissal of Graham Potter was a little unfair, in my opinion. It doesn't seem like he was given a lot of say in terms of transfers. It seems like just Chelsea would just looked at a player. We'll take him. Here you go, Graham. Incorporate this player into your tactics, please. The Chelsea team is already bloated. And it will mean there are a lot of players that are going to be leaving in the summer before you can even think about adding to the team. But it just is balmy to me that you would pay almost, £21.5 million. You would pay Brian £21.5 million to go and get Graham Potter to only sack him, 9 months later? Ridiculous. Granted, results have not gone your way, Chelsea. You're in mid-table mediocrity. But this is a transition period. Chelsea cannot be expecting to win titles season after season after season after season. They haven't been that team since Mourinho. And I mean the first Mourinho stint. But it's just balmy. Absolutely balmy. That Chelsea would then go ahead and just be like, yeah, do you know what? So who do they get? Who do they go and get now? The reports saying that Luis Enrique, former Barcelona manager, is in London in talks, as well as the former Bayern manager, Julian Nagelsmann, concerns over Nagelsmann due to his age. What's his age got to do with it? Cool, he's 35. Okay. Will he win you trophies? Yes. Does he understand football? Well, Bayern Munich would certainly dispute that. Not to take a let's get to Unai Emery's Aston Villa as they get a fantastic win. And are they perhaps entering in the late stages for this race for European football? Now, as I said, it all does depend on who wins what trophies. You've still got Chelsea and Manchester City in the Champions League. You've still got Manchester United in the Europa League. You've still got West Ham in the Conference League. Obviously, the FA Cup plays a part as well. There's a lot of permutations when it comes to the European places in the Premier League table, more so than the rest of the European leagues, it has to be said, just because of how many trophies there are up for grabs and how many teams are involved in what competitions. We already know one thing, that the Conference League place earned by winning the League Cup will be handed down. That's because of Manchester United winning it. Aston Villa could. They've gone on a run of form now. As you'll see in the next episode of the Premier League Review Show, where we review the midweek games that have happened at time of recording, which was yesterday and today. Yes. Sorry, I'm time. It's a funny old thing. Ollie Watkins scores in the 18th minute, and it just goes wrong from there. Mistake after mistake after mistake from Mudryk, from Cucurella, from a lot of the Chelsea squad. Can you blame the manager for that? Well, Graham Potter had said in his post-match interview that he takes the blame for it. But if your players are not up to the standard, I'm not going to lie, why did you sign him in the first place? John McGinn scores in the 56th minute to put the nail in the coffin, and the Graham Potter era at Chelsea, however brief, is now over. So what's next for Graham Potter? Who knows? A lot of clubs going in for him. Spurs interested. Crystal Palace interested. Who knows? Who knows? We're going to stay in London, but we're going to go from west to east as a vital win needed for both teams here in the relegation zone, as West Ham United beat Southampton 1-0 in a game that I think is going to see Southampton return to the Championship. I don't see how they're going to survive. This is a game that they needed to win, and it just did not do anything. West Ham were too good for them on the day. Now, West Ham, they've obviously got European football to worry about as well, so their squad's already going to be focused on two different things. And you'd want to say, oh no, just focus on staying in the Premier League. But when you've got a trophy that you can very well win, you go for it. So obviously, the position in which West Ham find themselves in the Premier League can be understood. Will they survive? I think so, yes. I think there are a lot more worse teams in and around them with runs that are worse than theirs. It's going to be close for the Hammers, but I do believe that they will see this season out, and they will be still a Premier League side come next season. Aguerd getting the only goal in the game in the 25th minute. A pretty standard stuff there from West Ham. They closed out, got a vital 3 points that sees them extend out of the relegation zone. We're going to go into Sunday's games now. We already were on Sunday's games. It's always fun recording, isn't it? It's always fun. Tons of bloopers. So, Newcastle United versus Manchester United. The Magpies going to Europe as they ascend into third place, beating Manchester United 2-0 with 2 second-half goals, courtesy of Joe Willock and Callum Wilson. And for all the praise given to Erik ten Hag, and I'm one of them, I like his style of football. To call it, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's the Erik ten Hag masterclass. Didn't Ralph Rangnick get like this same amount of points last season already? Is it a masterclass? Well, this race for third and fourth is certainly going to be heated, because Newcastle now into third place in the Premier League. And it's well-deserved. It was a well-deserved win. Manchester United just did not turn up in the second half, and they were undone by Newcastle, and a well-deserved win for the Magpies. And it is certainly going to be a fun race for all positions. The title race, the European race, the relegation battles. Oh, you gotta love the Premier League. You gotta love it. So Newcastle, could they be hearing that glorious music come next season? Well, they've gotten this last stint of the Premier League, this last leg of the race, off to a fantastic start, beating their league position rivals in this game. This was a must-win game for both teams, especially considering what's on the line here. This is UEFA Champions League football on the line here. You don't want to be the team that takes the consolation prize of, okay, you might drop into fifth and get Europa League football. You don't want to be that team. You don't want to be relying on other results going your way, or winning this trophy or that trophy, or this team winning that trophy and vice versa. You don't want to be that team. You want to have a clear view of we are this club. We finished here. We are going to the UEFA Champions League next season. You don't want to be hanging around waiting to beat Barcelona in the Europa League or Sociedad or whoever. Now, Manchester United still have a route into Champions League football should they win the Europa League and perhaps even the FA Cup. A treble still on the line here for Erik ten Hag's Manchester United, which would, it has to be said, be given full props to them, because a treble, no matter what, is something to behold. Manchester United, though, need to pick up this, because you can't just let the Premier League go. You can't. It's ridiculous to even think that you would be doing that. But Newcastle now into third. We're going to go off and this game. So, Antonio Conte obviously stands down as Spurs manager. This is their first game under their interim manager, whose name I have not forgotten. I have forgotten it. Do forgive me that one. That's not journalistic professionalism. Everton won. Tottenham Hotspur won. Spurs stuck by the Toffees in a game that... This was dramatic. So, Abdoulaye Doucouré sent off in the 58th minute. Tempers flying off. He sees red, quite literally, by striking Harry Kane in the face. You had to know that something was going to happen in this game. Everton chasing survival, Tottenham chasing Europe. Both teams in desperate need of 3 points. But despite that score and despite the sending off of Doucouré, Everton were by far the most superior team on that pitch. Sean Dyche cannot be disappointed by his team's performance in this game. They tried and they tried and they tried to get past Lloris and the Spurs defense, and most of the time they did. A shocking performance by Spurs. Is this Spurs just downing all their tools? Okay, Harry Kane got the record. He got the England record as well. That's it. Harry Kane is not going to be a Spurs player come next season. He should go. He should put in the request being, I've given you all this time. You've not done anything with it. I'm done. Let me go to another club. Let me go to a club that's way higher in the table, way more successful, isn't going to waste my time, isn't just going to throw money at me and expect me to stay out of pure loyalty. No. What is a Premier League footballer? What is a Premier League footballer's dream? Is to get your hands on the trophy. Harry Kane is not going to win a trophy at Tottenham Hotspur. He isn't. And to expect him to is delusion, pure and utter delusion. Harry Kane does not deserve to be stuck at Spurs. Spurs don't deserve him. They don't. Harry Kane should be at a far better team, be that in the mainland, or mainland Europe, or maybe another club in the Premier League. Manchester United, for instance. A lot of clubs would give their souls for the talents of Harry Kane. And yet Spurs are just expecting him to stay. It all depends on who comes into that job. Would it be Graham Potter? Would it be Julian Nagelsmann? It very well could be anyone. A lot of tabloids reporting that Brendan Rodgers could be involved in there. Obviously, he is a trophy-winning manager. What with Celtic and Leicester. But back to this game. Harry Kane scores a 68th minute penalty. Lucas Moura, let's get on to you. You are probably the biggest idiot of the weekend. Because a stupid challenge, an absolute ridiculous challenge, sees him see an immediate red, and it didn't even need to be. It didn't even need to be done. An absolute idiotic challenge sees him sent off, and now both teams down to 10 men. And Michael Keane, with a stunning strike, secures a vital point in this Premier League game. And it isn't over yet for Everton. They can still stay up, obviously, but Tottenham Hotspur, embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing, which does bring me on to my favourite segment, Brick of the Week. Lucas Moura. It is Lucas Moura. You might be able to dispute that it might be the managers who were sacked over the last few days. Brendan Rodgers, Antonio Conte, Graham Potter. But Lucas Moura for an absolutely harebrained challenge that saw him sent off. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Baller of the week. Baller of the week. Now, this one's going to be very, very special here. Baller of the week is, as I said, the person who this episode of the Premier League Review Show is dedicated to, dedicated to Charlie Ellicott. More on how the club and the fans of Crystal Palace have come together to celebrate this young man's life. Games were dedicated to him. Young Charlie was included on the women's match programs, included in the squad, and also during the game against Leicester, he was given a full reception of round of applause. His shown up on the big screen as well, and also the Homesdale Fanatics displaying a banner for young Charlie. Those of you who know the Ellicott family, we have gathered in such a way that truly does say that football is a family. This club is a family. We look after our own. Those of you who may know John, he sells match programs every single home game. He runs the Eagle's Nest on Twitter. An avid fan of Crystal Palace. His whole family are. This has been when the news broke, everyone was shocked, and everyone was deeply saddened, and we will not forget Charlie. Never ever. We forever will remember him as a bright star in the sky. And I'm lost for words. Choking up a little, do excuse me. In short, because I'll be rambling, Charlie, we will miss you. Rest in peace, young man. That's all I've got. It's a solo show. It's a quick show. Only at 35 minutes. Usually, I know I do go rambling on. Unfortunately, Nathan not able to join me for this episode. He's at work, unfortunately, so he wasn't able to join me. So that's all I've got. Have I got anything else? No, I haven't. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can, of course, follow me at Saint of Selhurst Twitch. That's obviously on Twitch. You can also follow me on Twitter at Selhurst Saint. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We will see you all soon. We have match previews coming out for the Leeds game on Sunday. Don't miss that. And we also have Tact Eagle coming up as well. Don't miss out on any of the content coming up, as long as you click that subscribe and click the bell for notifications. I've been the Saint of Selhurst, and I will see you all very, very soon. And I am out. Peace.